Oh yeah, I mean, without a doubt. And I mean, you don't need it to see it just in the context of Hollywood. I think, particularly, there may be a slight change in tone in some of the news media. I think as of late, but certainly at the beginning, and there's always been this sort of deference to Israel. And as someone who was steeped in this as a kid, it took a long time, I think, for me to be fully conscious of that, of just how, steeped it is. I mean, I always knew there was a bias, but I think like you're really seeing in this conflict because everybody seems to be weighing in. I mean, you mentioned I've been doing this for a while. It's actually going to be the 20th anniversary of the Majority Report in like 2 or 3 weeks.
Wow.
And when we started it on radio, Janine Garofalo and I co-hosted the show, and we, I think we were one of the few. I mean, it's certainly even on the network, without a doubt, but anywhere on commercial media, I think we were one of the few outlets where we would regularly criticize Israel. It was not necessarily
in vogue.
No, it definitely wasn't in vogue. But
Yeah.
my critique, I think, has gotten more sophisticated over the years. But we got a call the day after we said anything negative about Israel from the Israeli embassy, and they wanted to send the ambassador onto the show. Guy named, I think it was Pincus, and I think he ultimately did come on to the show and listen to our critique. I mean, I was very critical of Sharon and at that time and the occupation, broadly speaking. But I don't know that I had as much clarity on the history. I mean, I had a good friend who did a documentary
Okay.
about.
To be fair, I will say this. What you're talking about is a time that literally predates the new historian era of Israeli history, I feel like, or was like right around the time
Oh
when the new
no, that
historian.
happened around in the 80s and 90s. But I wasn't, at that age, 80s and 90s. I'm still in my teens, early 20s, and I wasn't. But it was there. I had a friend, a guy named Benny Bruner, and you can see his documentary he did. He was Israeli, I want to say Dutch, and he did the documentary that is available. Or he's done many, but one which really struck me was called "The Great Book Robbery," and it's a documentary about trying to establish that there was, in fact, a Palestinian. The land was not empty. There was no. There was a Palestinian culture. There was a Palestinian
Yeah.
civilization. They had, and he makes that case through all the books, Palestinian books that were stolen and are actually stored in a subterranean level in the Israeli National Library that you really can't go in and see.